Recruiting-ish. Web3. World-class podcast. Let's get it, let's go. The topics of discussion you cannot get from another. Opportunities in Web3, we got you covered. Metaintro, been dope. Gotta thank you for the love and support that you give it. Keep it coming. We going up in jet speeds, interviews with the crews, making moves. Let's see, it's a brand new world of NFTs. Join in Recruiting-ish podcast, yes please. Join in Recruiting-ish podcast, yes please. Metaintro does not give financial advice. Information provided by Metaintro is intended to be used and must be used for informational purposes only. Always do your own research on the companies that you apply to and the opportunities that you invest in.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Recruiting-ish podcast. Before we get into the episode, here's a word from our sponsors.
Hey there, fellow podcast listeners. I'm Kevin Logan Jr., host of the Immutable Mindset podcast. If you're fascinated by Web3, blockchain, and disruptive technology, then you won't want to miss a show. Join me and co-host Adam Posner as we introduce you to an incredible lineup of successful entrepreneurs, builders, and industry veterans who share their insider knowledge, unique perspectives, and personal stories that will leave you inspired and craving more. Like Mike Isogawa, the CEO of Webacy, who shares her journey from being a Cirque du Soleil performer to a cybersecurity pioneer. Or Dave Schwed, COO of Halborn, who discusses the future of digital asset security and how the future of assets will be tokenized. We also break down complex topics into digestible bits, perfect for both experts and newcomers to the world of Web3. So if you're ready to stay ahead of the curve, subscribe to the Immutable Mindset podcast now, wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Recruiting-ish podcast. My name's Alex. I'm your crypto recruiter. I'm here with Brad from the Metaintro team, joining us again. We've got a very special guest, Dan Choi, CEO of Sequoia Games. Excited to jump into the episode and talk through his project, what they're working on, what they're hiring for. And yes, we are live in a booth. Dan is joining us virtual here at Consensus, but definitely didn't want to miss an episode. But Dan, thank you for joining. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here and appreciate the time.
Dan, has there been a better 48 hours for the NBA in the last 10 years in terms of playoff basketball?
It was crazy. I don't remember the last time an 8 seed beat a 1 seed, but that was pretty exciting. I'm from the Bay Area, so seeing the Warriors and Kings, that was exciting too. But man, some incredible stuff, and we haven't even gotten to the quarter or semifinals yet.
I know. I'm always excited. I'm a basketball junkie, so excited to learn more about your project. We got some sneak peeks before we went on, so yeah, excited to jump in.
Definitely. Well, tell us a little bit more about Sequoia Games, kind of your product, what you guys are up to within the space.
Yeah, so Flex NBA is our first gaming release. We started with a Kickstarter in 2021. We hit national distribution last year in 2022 around February. We're a TCG that features pro sports athletes. So if you think of like a Pokemon or a Magic the Gathering, typically you're gathering monsters, you're collecting, and fighting dragons and using wizards. Well, this is using your favorite NBA player. And soon to be, we're moving to football. UFC is launching next month as well. So we're expanding quite a bit here. We had a really successful first year publicly. In terms of sales and growth, we grew 1,860% last year, mostly organic. But we've really brought new technology into an old genre. So believe it or not, Magic the Gathering's been around since 1994. Pokemon's been around for almost as long. And, these seem like kind of new things, but they're really not. They've been around for 3 decades plus. And what we did is we brought in some new technology to enhance not only the experience for the players, but also for people who collect, because that's a big thing. So, that's our company. And we just launched pre-orders for Series 3 now. We're on the 3rd series for NBA already, and moving into Series 1 for UFC.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's when looking at the product, right, it mixes both of those worlds, right? Like it still gives you the physical good, but as well brings you into kind of the metaverse or AR, VR, like this new space with the digital. And from a hiring perspective, with that much growth, tell us a little bit about, kind of what hiring looks like for Sequoia Games, or maybe the team, that you've built so far.
Yeah, so we have 3 major silos that we have to build at the company. The first is really overall operations, and I would include gameplay, game development in that, because at the core of this is a very deep strategic game. You're not playing basketball. You're playing a game where you're battling and flexing on each other. That's why it's called flex. And I like to say that everyone I interview for jobs has flexes too. I often ask if we were to make a flexagon of you. A flexagon is one of these physical tiles. On the back are your flexes. I always ask, what would your 3 flexes be? If you were to categorize your strengths, and you hear multitasking or time management or being able to sell, or close a deal. Those are the types of flexes I hear about when I interview. So the first is kind of game development operations. The second is tech. Not only do we have augmented reality, which is really I think the next gen for gaming, we also have the ability to register each flexagon in a completely Web3 encrypted database. It's publicly viewable, meaning each piece is a one of one, uncounterfeitable. You can't make duplicates. You can't make fakes. There's a lot of fraudulent cards and things out there. I didn't know this, but 3.9% of all goods in the world is fake. Comprises $560 billion of goods is fake. And I also didn't know the FBI and Department of Homeland Security have departments to handle forgeries, to handle counterfeit goods coming in, from belts and purses to golf clubs and sneakers. It's rampant. So with our technology, our patented technology, which is now published, we're very thankful for, we can actually track these physical pieces from the factory into the homes of the owners. And then as you trade them and sell them, you can see and verify authenticity, which is really neat. So the technology piece of our company is huge in terms of developing those areas. And then the last is really sales and marketing. And that's probably our biggest highlight right now and focus is marketing. We grew quite a bit last year, but it was mainly organic. So that's Google and that sort of search type functionality. But this year we're looking to make bigger splashes in, your traditional advertising type campaigns.
Wow, that's amazing. I love your flex card, thing. That's really, I could go many different ways in an interview, even almost leading off with that, type of question. Do you add on to that question, or do you have that at the beginning? Where do you kind of place that one?
I usually like to find out a little bit more about people's backgrounds, what they're passionate about, because if you don't like this, it's probably not going to be a good fit. The culture I'm trying to build is to have fun. I left a career after 20 years in a completely different industry to do this 5 years ago. And so when I built this, my main reason for leaving that secure salary and job was to have more fun. Like I don't think we have enough fun in this world. I think we stress out too much about mortgages and things like that, which is kind of the way our culture is built. But after finding out about passions and if you're really enjoying this or could enjoy this, then I get into the flexes. Tell me what role you would play on the team by telling me what you would list as your best qualities and kind of show off for me a little bit.
Yeah. Normally I would actually ask you if you were to, give one pitch for your company or for your project to come work for you. But you gave us some sneak peeks before we got on. Do you want to show us some of the cards? I don't know if they're released or not released or anything like that, but they were so cool. And maybe tell us, a little bit about them, because I feel like that's the best pitch, because they are really, really cool.
Yeah, so we have it's kind of a see to believe type thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I'm just going to share my phone screen with you. And do you see my phone on your screen?
We can.
Okay, great. So again, these are called flexagons. We have over 270 hand-drawn pieces of art sealed in this beautiful acrylic. These have a nice weight to them and a nice feel to them. They're definitely not cards. We've tried destroying them. It's pretty hard to do. But what I'll show you next is not CGI'd. It's not like video manipulated edits or anything like that. I'll just open my app and you'll start to see these come right to life. You'll see that these players will start to do their signature moves. You'll see a hoop just showed up right above my desktop. This is again happening live, where players will kind of do their signature moves like Steph's night night when he puts somebody away at the end of the game, and watch his teammates will recognize each other. They'll kind of interact with each other. Also, rivals will kind of uh, talk smack to each other a little bit, and not be so friendly. We know LeBron became the scoring champ this year, all-time leading scorer in NBA history. So we did a special limited animation for him where he sits on this throne here. And a lot of these rarer pieces will actually have video embedded with them. This is 4K video floating in midair right in front of my hand. And this video also allows us to make this bigger if we want. I always joke around we might be entering an era where we don't need TVs anymore. There is sound to this too. I've just muted it. But you can see all sorts of cool things start to happen like this. This one is our Walmart, this Giannis. If you find the gold at Walmart, you win a weekly prize, but also a grand prize is a trip to Chicago for the National Sports Collectors Convention. Again, this is only available at Walmart. And all of this is enabled through our code. This code signifies, and this is different on each one. So each one of these is, again, a one of one. When you register this in your app, nobody can steal it from you, duplicate it, make a counterfeit or anything like that. But it also allows you to modify these. For example, this one has a signature, a real autograph with a black Sharpie. This is Mitch Richmond. But you'll see over my thumbprint is a 3D signature that's in white, and that's because we know exactly where this flexagon was made, when it was signed, and where it was signed. And you can actually look this up on our website, and you can see that it's an authenticated signature. We call this a flexograph. And if you do things like collect the complete set here, you'll see something really cool happen. Once his teammates pop, I don't know where his teammate. There's Timmy, and let's get Chris to show up. If his teammate will.
He doesn't want to bring him off the bench.
Oh, there you go. You'll see they'll run an entire play right here on my desk. If I pull one away though, it doesn't. So you got to complete sets there, and then you can share this to your social media right from the app. So I can send this by Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. And then the last really cool thing I'll show off is when you do add someone to your roster, you can hit this Flex Anywhere button, which is right in the middle of our app. And I'll show you that you can put, let's say, Stephen Curry in your home. And that is a life-size Stephen Curry in my office on a 10-foot hoop. And I can shrink him if I want to. I can take pictures with him. I can do all kinds of cool things with him. And if I put someone much taller like Nikola Jokic, he's 7 feet tall. And that's life size. So I'm 5'10". I'd probably come up to maybe his chest. But again, that's a life size hoop right here that you could put in your living room or bedroom. We've had people post these at games and all kinds of crazy things where they put players on the court. So it's really an interactive, fun way to collect your favorite players, but at the same time, play a cool game as well.
Dan, you're doing it. You're having fun. This is
having fun. Yeah,
it's so much fun. I've been a huge a long time ago was an NBA Top Shot collector and whatnot. Since I've just been truly disappointed in how they've approached some of the growth of that. This is incredible. I love the digital signatures. That's applicable in, think of how many different use cases that's applicable, and that might lead to my next question, which is the common one I usually do in an interview. What's the grandiose vision for Sequoia Games? Or I doubt you'd want to remove the fun, but what is the nirvana of is it beyond gaming, or do you want to stick in this niche because there's so much room for growth?
So Atari was launched in the early 80s. Believe it or not, it's 40 years old. I mean, the days where you plug a console into a TV and use a joystick or controller, I think they're going away.
Yeah,
I really do. I think there's everything is moving towards interactivity. And so I really believe for the long term, we want to be on the cutting edge of that, where you have physical pieces interacting in a physical world, like we live in a real world, but applying this amazing tech to it, where you can authenticate that this one LeBron James is the only one in the world of this code, right?
Sure.
Owned by this chain of people. That's pretty cool. You can't do that with baseball cards,
Yeah.
and one sold last year for $12.6 million. We don't even know if that thing is real.
Yeah.
That's the crazy piece of it. So in the short term, we are launching other leagues, football, UFC, more sports to be announced by press release soon. But we're also, looking into other applications because our patented technology, like you mentioned, has multiple uses. Maybe you apply these to sneakers, maybe you apply these to pieces of art or football helmets or jerseys. Like I mentioned before, 3.9% of all goods is fake. That's a lot of money, and
Yeah.
people are making a lot off of their eBay sales and their StockX sneaker sells and all that stuff. So we'll see where that path takes us. But for now, we're happy to be a gaming company that's really cutting the edge of what I think is the next generation of gaming, which is interactive play.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. How is like community? So I know obviously within, projects within the kind of Web3 metaverse space, community is like a huge part. And I can see again, there's like an aspect to individual collecting, but also you mentioned trading. Like what's been the community building like? What's the feedback been? Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so we have a very active Discord channel where you find a lot of people trading. The interesting thing is our thesis is that in order for some of this tech to really manifest, in its full glory, I think you need a physical component. A lot of companies are going digital only, and here's why. This takes me back to Econ 101. I think that a healthy price of any good has a supply and a demand curve, right? Well, when you have a digital asset, you can theoretically make unlimited amounts, right? There's no supply chain constraint, which means the price of that digital good is really driven by demand, which means if you hype it up enough, the price will go up. And then at some point you'll see it kind of fall. When you have a piece like this, like a Stephen Curry MVP, where I can control the number of how many there are in the world, and there's a process that in a manufacturing situation where we have this sort of proprietary way we build these and it's hard to steal. Now there's a supply curve that's constrained and the price can be more stable, right? So one of the things we get a lot of is when we trade these, right now the only platform is eBay. But eBay doesn't really do it well either because it's not handling the digital component. It's just me shipping it to you, right? And then you have marketplaces like OpenSea where you can trade NFTs and digital stuff. But then if you have a physical product, how do I know you're going to send it to me? How do I know I'm going to get the FedEx on it? So I think the marketplace situation is something we may actually pursue in the future, but also I'm sure competitors will start to come to realize that it may be the blending of the physical and digital that really takes us and allows this technology to fully blossom.
Yeah. No, I mean, the use case is there, right? You hear the stories of like, hey, I bought this really expensive collectible. I ordered it on eBay and it came in and it was a empty box or a sock, right? And then again, like you said, physical's great, but how do I share that, right? If I only got one, I can't send it digitally to people or, share the experience. With the growth on the hiring side, do you have any open roles you want to highlight? I mean, the Metaintro team, runs a Discord, and then a lot of the listeners are looking for awesome projects. Would love to hear about, if you got specific roles or people you're looking for, what that looks like to kind of get your message out.
Yeah, we have. We will in very short order look to be filling 12 positions, so it's not just one. We're not quite ready to go public with what those positions are, but they range everything from operations and logistics to marketing. As I mentioned earlier in the interview, really getting the word out is big here. We've signed 7 NBA players to investment, so they are owners of the company as well, and they're also endorsements for us, including All NBA Trae Young, 3 Hall of Famers, Mitch Richmond, Tim Hardaway, Chris Mullin. They're all owners and endorsers of ours. We have not yet deployed those endorsements, right? So marketing is a big piece of that. Social is a big piece of that. And, I think the TikTok community is another area that continues to evolve, especially from a purchasing standpoint. I saw some crazy apps over in China where it's kind of like a TikTok, but everybody's just selling stuff.
Yeah.
And I forgot what it's called, but I think we're kind of getting to that here in the States where we may see a platform like a social media selling type platform where people get kind of hooked on influencers and creators kind of pushing cool stuff out there. So, in terms of hiring, yeah, the marketing piece of it is probably going to be a big push on the 12 place, the 12 positions that open soon.
You're hiring a full roster, full NBA roster. There you go.
Yeah, it is a full NBA roster. You're right.
Isn't it nuts how TikTok Live has and is evolving every single day, as you kind of said? It's just like the store possibilities. I even saw something last night of engagement of just like giving out, just these, $2 and $5 gift cards, if you will, just, but it works, and you're, really both parties, if you will, are benefiting from it. So, yeah. So you hit on it a little bit, and I love your answer of there needs to be something physical. And I think that obviously you're going to have to find that product market fit of that marketplace to handle that. What other experiences are you maybe thinking about from the physical standpoint? Because I'm 100% with you. And oh, by the way, Mark Zuckerberg is as well burning $4 billion, in the metaverse and VR. What are going to be those physical, type experiences that you might, see as the next, leg up for market adoption?
Well, I think one thing we have to remember is a lot of people like to show off. Right?
Yeah.
They like to
And
flex.
they like to flex. They like to flex, right? And so if I'm on NBA 2K,
Yeah.
and I have all these trophies, and I built up this guy who's like 99 power or whatever, how do I show that to you?
Yeah.
Like I turn on my PS5 and say, "Hey, check this out! Look at my guy." I may be known in the gaming community because I'm using him in the game, right? But outside of that, there's not like there's a game I invested a lot in and was one of my inspirations for Flex. It's Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. And I have a pretty stacked roster there. I'm not going to, how do I show that off? How do I trade those pieces? I can't even trade them. I can't even get value for them. I've just got, and kind of their hook is, unless I keep putting money in, they kind of just disappear into the ether, right? So I think you're going to see a lot of projects and companies come out there where it allows you to show your stuff off, kind of like we did as kids with baseball cards, like we did with medals and trophies and things around the house, but also have a footprint, a digital footprint that's unhackable, immutable, that says, anyone can forge a certificate. I'm big into watches, and this watch company keeps sending me emails saying we have pre-owned watches with boxes and certificates. I'm like, those boxes and certificates aren't that hard to make, right? And who the heck signed it, right? And what does this actually mean? That's the sort of thing where I think you'll see a lot of that blend into the tech that we have. And so as far as Sequoia Games is concerned, once we move past the Flex side of things, one of the areas I'm really interested in is geocaching and kind of finding stuff in the real world. And some of the video games out there have kind of shown that off. There's a game where you go to certain vista points and you point the camera and it lines up, and then all of a sudden, boom, it unlocks something. You could have a game like that where you're in New York City and, you get clues and you find something, and, stuff where we're moving around and doing things. I think the controller, keyboard, mouse era, like I said before, it may feel a little dated in about 10, 15 years, where our grandkids might be like, you actually use the mouse?
Yep.
Like, yeah, we use the mouse, and they're pulling stuff out of the air like Iron Man, like throwing their stuff together. I think we're pretty close to that.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. So I'm a buyer. Where do I can't believe we haven't asked that. Where can I buy you? I think you said season 3 or edition 3. Where can someone go and buy one of these?
Yeah, so we have stores at flexnba.com, which is the only place you can pre-order. But we're also on Amazon. We have an eBay store, and of course your Walmart's, Lids, Shields, Myers department stores. Many locations are sold out, unfortunately, but that's why we're launching Series 3. We are on the collectibles aisle. We also did a whole new repackaging. We used to sell them in packages that look like this artist remix here, or in packages like this. We're moving to a tearaway, a little bit easier to open and less of a carbon footprint for our environment. But we did some really cool things on the packaging side. It's a very premium feel. In fact, it's the same boxes that iPhones use. So when you unbox it, it feels pretty cool. But yeah, that's where you can buy it. FlexNBA.com, or for the older series, you can go to some of the other digital stores or physical stores.
Awesome. And then, for the hiring side, when they do open LinkedIn website, we'll attach any links obviously here. But what's the best way for just people to reach out if they are interested in showing off their skill set to maybe work with you?
Yeah, HR@sequoiagames.com. You can send any resumes there. And then we're big fans of LinkedIn. So you'll see postings there as they come open.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you coming on, and like I said, we'll make sure to highlight this, get it out to the community. There's a lot of talented people in the Discord and channels through Metaintro. So when those do open up, definitely circle back with us. We're happy to get those out to the team. And yeah, we're buyers. We got to go find some and get our flexes ready for sure. We appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you very much for having me, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Dan.
Thank you.
Take care.
All righty.